In today's lecture of rural development, we are going to discuss about the block and district level planning. Efforts at development planning were lacking in proper methodology for planning and development at the subnational levels. And in 77, the Planning Commission constituted a working group in order to draw up the detailed guidelines for block level planning. What happened is, before 1977, they were trying to implement all the programs as per the plans, but the methods used or the implementation of each and every method was improper, or it was actually not working. So it could not be implemented in a proper way. So actually, to implement it in a proper way, what the government done is they constituted a commission in 1977 so that they may give us the good guidelines for block level planning. The working group recommended the following guidelines. So that commission gave us the following guidelines. Which are these guidelines we are going to see one by one. Prepare and analyze resource inventories to assess prevailing level of development, potential for further development, and identify constraints on further development. So the very important and the first guideline, what it says is, you have to first of all find out the resources and the people inventories in such a way that we should be able to know actual in before this commission how much development took place in that rural area, and is there any further potential for the development of the same area or not. Otherwise, what will happen? Only our potential will go in loss. So we have to find out the actual potential of that rural area so that we can easily find out what we have to do, how we have to do, and when we have to do. And not only that, they also try to find out the hurdles which are coming in between the development of that rural area. So next, the second point is determine priorities in various programs proposed for the area and identify the catalytic problem. Now, after the second guideline is we have to find out the priority list. I have already discussed about the priority. First of all, what we have to do is there are a number of things which we can actually implement for the rural development. First of all, we have to make a list in such a way that that will be helpful for the further development, or as per the list goes on and on, what will happen, the initial development should be helpful to the next development or the further development of that rural area. In this manner, we have to actually find out the priority list, and we have to also find out the catalytic problem. What is the meaning of this catalytic? Wherever we go, or if we observe any type of reaction, some catalysts are required. Catalysts are those persons or those type of things which are helpful in the reaction but are not harming that reaction. In the same way, catalytic program also are those programs which are helping for the rural development, but actually they are not getting involved, or they are not taking any type of advantages. In this way, we have to find out the things, and actually we have to implement this priorities list. Next is to formulate program and projects for development and establish their spatial and temporal links within an integrated framework. Now what you have to do, we have to actually formulate. That means in which way and how, when we have to start and implement the program. We have to find out all these things. When you have to start it, what will be the phases of this project? We have to type, or we have to make the links in between these stages, and we have to go through the integrated framework. That means if we prepare the total project, it should be integrated. That means the total project should be combined in such a way that the works one after one further will be integrated. Next is devise a plan for full utilization of manpower resources. Many times what happens, the people come on the site, they just make the time pass and go away. Instead of that, what you have to do is you have to actually use this manpower in such a way that maximum potential of each and every person can be utilized on the site. The next thing is access the availability of financial resources from various resources such as district budget, banking system, private sectors, etc. Whenever you go for any type of development, the main thing which you have to see is the financial status. So what is the financial status? Once we are able to find out the financial status, from where we should get it, all these things should be seen. Whether it should be taken from the budget that is given to the district level, whether it should be taken from the banks or for the private sectors, as well as mobilize the same financial matters so that the rural development can be done very easily. Next is provide for monitoring and concurrent evaluation or parallel audit of development plans and modifications from time to time in the light of experience. The one thing what happens is always the government brings a new policies, it starts implementing the new policies. The main problem of the government plans or the failure of the government plans is improper monitoring. So what we have to do is we have to do such a monitoring team that it will be monitoring the project from the start to the end, so that there will be no any type of lagging in the implementation of the project. In this way, the parallel audit system that commission, what it does is it suggests us to set up a parallel audit system in such a way that the rural development can be taken place, and sometimes if necessary you have to do the modifications in that team from time to time, so that the whole rural area can be developed in a proper way. These guidelines define the scope of the functions of the planning term, but they are of little help to the planner as far as the actual mechanics of formulating, evaluating, and integrating various projects is concerned. Now we have already seen these guidelines, but the problem is this is of little helpful. Why? Because it is a type of paperwork. When we are actually going for this planning, it is not of that much of helpful. So what we have to do is we have to take the persons who are actually involved in these types of projects or the implementation of projects before this starting of the new policies. They will tell us which type of hurdles will be there, what actually will happen when we are going for the implementation of the projects, and in this way we can very easily start to implement the program. The planner needs a framework that will guide him in collecting and processing data and in formulating, ranking, and combining various projects in optimal proportions given a set of technical, economic, and institutional constraints. Now, what happens whenever the planner sits for the development of the policy or the implementation of the policy or the steps which will be helpful to implement the program in such a way that it will be helpful to the people, and the involvement of the rural people in these projects will be of good sense. So what will happen is, while actually planner comes there and starts giving the programs and analyzing the data for the processing, you should be able to combine all the projects and try to give up the optimal proportions in such a way that the technical and economical constraints can be easily removed. And the last guideline is the planning framework consists of a number of components listed as follows. First one is delineation of viable areas for planning. In India, a block is considered as a convenient unit of administration for planning and implementation. Area development programs with a cluster of villages delineated on the basis of micro watersheds, command areas within a block serving as the ultimate units for the micro level planning. So what is the meaning of this actually? When we go to a village and we are able to, or we are interested to implement any type of policy or any type of project, at that time we should be able to divide all the projects up to the small units, that is called as a block, or we can even say that it is a micro level planning. We have to go to that root level and the planning should be up to that level. The framework for integrated planning outlines in this chapter is based on the construction of multi-level planning with clusters of villages at the ultimate units of micro-level planning. Sometimes what happens while planning, some clusters are invited or made in such a way that it will be helpful for the rural development of that area. In such a way, at micro level planning, with the help of the clusters, we can very easily make the outlines of the project. Next is the determination and qualification of plan objectives. The main objectives are as follows. The maximum to maximize the production in agriculture and allied activities, most effective methods. What you have to do is you have to find how can we increase the agricultural production as well as the allied activities in such a way that it should be helpful to overall development of that area. Now next is eradication of unemployment. So what is the meaning of this eradication of unemployment? The main problem of our India is our population, and due to the overgrowth of the population, we are facing a very big problem of unemployment. So as far as we are able to or unable to eradicate or remove this unemployment problem, there will be no any good step to development of our rural areas. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to find out the methods of the techniques which can be implemented in the rural areas in such a way that the people living in the rural area may get the employment in their own areas. Next is an improvement in the level of living of the poorest section of the people. In our country, if you observe, more than 50% of the people are in poor condition. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to improve their level of living. That is, the standard of living should be increased to such a level that they can live in a safe manner. Next is provisions by the state of basic amenities like drinking water, elementary education, adult literacy, healthcare, rural roads, and rural housing for the landless. These all the policies have been implemented to a great extent now, but still we are lagging, or we are lagging in the implementation of these policies due to the improper coordination among the various agencies. So what you have to do is we have to actually complete the needs or the basic needs of the people living in the rural area so that they may come in the main flow. Next is the identification of target groups. To achieve the plan objectives, the target population should be identified and we should be provided with the technical assistance and guidance for its development. The fair-men groups, farmhouse lands having land holdings of economic size. Now the main thing when you go for the target group, that means actually we have to find to which type of people or which type of group we have to implement these policies. So they have given us the 4 types of groups, in which the first thing is farm households having land holdings. Some of the people may having some of the land holdings in their area of economic size. The second one is farm householding possessing land holdings of uneconomic size. Sometimes what happens, some of the people are having land holdings which are of now economic size. That means we cannot purchase them at low level. Next is the third group is landless agricultural laborers. The people working in the agriculture area or the laborers working in the agriculture area are called as agricultural laborers. And the next is rural artisans. Now the fourth point is the resource appraisal. For the resource appraisal, we have to see the next step in the area of planning is to appraise the quantity and quality of natural, human, and artificial credited resources available in the area, as this is process of resource appraisal would facilitate identification of constraints and any further development of the area. Actually, we have to go there, we have to find the people, their living qualities, and after finding the living qualities of each and every people, then only we are able to find out their real problems they are faced at the ground level. Once we are able to find out their real problems, then automatically what will happen is we can find out the solution of their problem. And the second one is resource appraisal is a team effort of meteorologists, hydrologists, plant scientists, and soil scientists, etc. Once we are able to find out the solution, then in application or implementation of the program or the project depends on the working of the people of all these categories. Which are these people? In that the meteorologists, hydrologists, plant scientists, all these people should come and work together. Next is identification and selection of development projects. The next step in the process of area planning is to prepare a list of technically feasible projects that can be taken up in the area. That means we have to first of all prepare the process or the things in which we can easily implement. Insight gained from the resource appraisal will help to identify the appropriate agro-technical projects in the area. Once we are able to find out the type of soil, the people interested, or the, we can say, cash crops, then very easily we can do this. In that, following things are involved. The first one is the activity should be technically and organizationally feasible. Any type of activity which you are suggesting should be feasible. That means it should be working at the ground level. Only the paperwork will not help in the development of the rural people living in that area. The second thing is the activity should be directly or indirectly contributed to the objectives of the plan. Each and every point which you are implementing should be in such a way that after completion of that work, it should be go to our main target. The third one is activity should be legally permissible. We should not go for any type of illegal activities. The activity should be socially acceptable. Whichever policy we are implementing, it should be acceptable by the social people. Next point which we are going to see is the components of an ideal development projects. Which are those? After selection of an appropriate development project, report is prepared having the following components. Which are those? First of all, the first page shows the title of the project. Secondly, the second point will be rationalized for the project. The third one will be the duration. Next is the objectives of the project. After that, the location of the project, target groups to be covered, detail of the technology adopted, cost benefit calculators, success indicators such as increase in the production of next is increase in the income. After that, incremental employment, distribution of the project benefit among the target groups, impact on environment and ecology, social acceptability, sustainability. And the next J point is financing strategy compromising. Once a time, if we go for any type of implementation of any type of policies or projects, this point is very, very important because without finance, we can do nothing. In that, the total financial outlay needed. Second thing is the amount likely to be available from the target group. Third is the amount likely to be available from the other outgoing government projects. Next is amount likely to be available from various institutional resources. Balance to be met from fresh allocations, linkages with other projects, implementation, arrangements for supplying inputs and disposing outlets, arrangements for monitoring, feedback, controlling evaluation, anticipated externalities and conflicts of and procedures for the resolution. In this way, we have already seen this and we have already discussed these points. Just go through this. It is nothing but the normal list. Okay, thank you. We'll stop here. We'll continue in the next lecture.